Somewhere between the dry hills of New Mexico and the silence that only the desert can keep, a man lived as if the world had forgotten him. And maybe it had. Eli Cutter was not a man of many words, not many possessions. His cabin was at the end of a road no one else used, surrounded by cracked earth and a sky that always seemed ready to collapse, but never did. He raised a few heads of cattle. He had 2 old horses that were no longer suitable for racing, but still pulled carts when necessary. And he had a small vegetable garden that he watered every morning before the sun came down. It was a simple life, a life of silence. And that was exactly how Eli wanted it. He had arrived here 7 years ago from some place he never mentioned. The few neighbors who were 2 days' ride away only knew that he paid his bills on time, didn't cause problems, and didn't ask questions. In return, no one asked him questions. That October afternoon, Eli was returning from town with supplies for the month. Flour, salt, coffee, kerosene, the basics. The cart creaked on the loose stones of the path as the sun began to set, painting the horizon orange and red. That's when he saw it. In the middle of the road, sitting against a rock too big to have rolled there by accident, was a man. Old, very old. His skin was dark and wrinkled like leather, tanned by decades of sun. Her hair, completely white, fell over her shoulders in thin braids. He wore clothes that Eli recognized immediately. Deerskin, turquoise beads, time-worn moccasins. An Indian. Eli pulled the reins and the cart stopped. The horses snorted restlessly. They also felt that something was different in the air. The old man didn't move. His eyes were closed. For a moment, Eli thought he was dead, but then he saw his chest rise and fall, slow, weak. Eli got out of the wagon. His boots kicked up dust as they hit the ground. He walked slowly, his hands visible, without making any sudden movements. When he got close, the old man opened his eyes. And what eyes those were! Black as coal, but with a depth that seemed to go through Eli completely. Eyes that had seen things no white man would ever see. The old man said nothing, just looked. Eli crouched down. He observed the man's body. There were no visible injuries, but it was obvious that he was weak, dehydrated, hungry. How long was he there? 1 day? 2? Without saying a word, Eli returned to the wagon. He grabbed his canteen and a piece of dried meat he kept for emergencies. He went back to the old man and offered it. The Indian looked at the food, then to Eli. His eyes carried a question that didn't need to be asked out loud. Why? Eli didn't respond. There was nothing to answer. He just held out the food a little further, waiting. The old man took it. He drank the water slowly, in small sips, as if he knew that drinking too quickly could be fatal. Then he ate the meat, chewing hard, but chewing. When he finished, he looked at Eli again. This time his eyes held something different. It wasn't gratitude exactly, it was something deeper. Recognition. He said something in a language Eli didn't understand. The words were guttural, rhythmic, ancient. Then, with effort, the old man stood up. Eli started to help him, but the Indian raised his hand, refusing. He stood alone, staggering but determined. He looked to the north, where the mountains rose like sleeping giants. Then he looked at Eli one last time, and then he walked. Eli watched the old man walk away, step by step, until his figure was just a dark speck against the red horizon. He thought about following, offering a ride, asking where he was going. But something stopped him, a feeling he couldn't explain. That this man knew exactly what he was doing, and that he didn't need anyone's help to get where he wanted to go. Eli returned to the wagon and continued on his way home. That night, as he put away his supplies in the cabin, he couldn't get the old man out of his mind. Those eyes, that silent dignity, that refusal to accept more than necessary. Who was he? Where did it come from? Where were you going? Eli slept poorly. Fractured dreams haunted him. Horses running, fire on the horizon. Voices and languages he didn't know. When he woke up, it was still dark. But something was different. The silence. Not the normal silence of the desert. Another kind of silence. The kind that comes when there are so many living things around that they all hold their breath at the same time. Eli stood up slowly. He picked up the rifle he kept next to the bed. He walked to the door, opened, and his heart stopped. The sun was rising over the horizon, painting the world gold. And in that golden light, spread across his land as far as the eye could see, were horses. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. Eli stepped outside, unable to believe his eyes. Horses of all colors. Bays, sorrels, blacks, painted. Some grazed peacefully. Others were standing still, watching him with large, calm eyes. He tried to count. Lost count in 78. There were at least 100, maybe more. And then he saw something else. On the hills around his property, silhouetted against the morning sky, were horsemen, many riders. They stood in silence, watching. Eli felt his blood run cold in his veins. His hand tightened on the rifle, but he knew it would do no good. If they wanted to, he would already have an arrow in his chest. One of the riders broke away from the group and started down the hill, slowly, no rush, with the confidence of someone who knows that time is on their side. Eli waited. The night approached. He was a younger man than the old man on the road, but with the same deep eyes, the same commanding posture. His face revealed nothing, neither threat nor friendship, just observation. He stopped 10 meters from Eli. He dismounted in one fluid movement, and then he spoke. "You gave food." It wasn't a question, it was an observation. His English was heavily accented, but perfectly understandable. Eli nodded slowly. "For the old man, on the road." "Yes." The warrior studied him for a long moment. His eyes swept Eli up and down, as if reading something invisible written on his skin. "You didn't ask who he was?" "No." "He didn't ask for anything in return?" "No." The warrior was silent. On the hills, the other knights stood as still as statues. "That man is my grandfather." Eli felt something tighten in his chest. Grandmother. The frail old man on the road was the patriarch of all those people. "He is our spiritual leader," the warrior continued. 3 moons ago, he set out alone on a sacred journey. It's our tradition. Elders must walk alone to connect with the spirits before the end. The warrior paused. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. He shouldn't accept help from anyone. It's part of the test, part of the journey. Many white men passed by him in those days. Some ignored it. Others laughed. One tried to steal what little he carried. Eli felt disgusted. Rob a dying old man. What kind of man does that? "But you stopped," the warrior said. "You got off your wagon. You offered what you had, without asking, no waiting, no fear." Eli didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. "My grandfather came back last night," the warrior continued. "He told us about you. He said he saw something in her eyes, something rare." "What?" "Humanity." The word hung in the air between them, simple, powerful. "He said you treated him like a man, not like an Indian, not as an enemy, not as a problem to be solved or ignored, just like a man who needed help." Eli swallowed hard. "Anyone would do the same." "No," the warrior's voice was firm. "Anyone wouldn't do it. We know. We see. White men look at us and see savages. They see animals. They see land being taken and people being removed. You looked at my grandfather and saw a hungry man." The warrior turned and made a sweeping gesture, encompassing all the horses that filled Eli's property. "These horses are ours, raised by our tribe for generations. They are the best horses in these lands, more resistant, faster, more loyal." He looked back at Eli. "My grandfather ordered them to be brought to you. 100 horses, one for every year he lived." Eli shook his head, stunned. "I can't accept this." "You don't understand," the warrior said. "It's not an offer, it's a payment. You saved the life of the most important man in our tribe. You deserve to be rewarded. I only gave food to someone who was hungry, and that someone was my grandfather." His voice was a little softer. "Among our people, the life of an elder is worth more than gold. It's worth more than land. It's worth more than anything white men so greedily pursue." Eli looked at the horses again. They were magnificent. Any rancher in the territory would kill to have a dozen of them, and there were 100 grazing on their land as if they had always belonged there. "There is more," the warrior said. Eli looked at him again. "My grandfather also sent a message. He says you are alone? That your land is good but small, that you work hard but have little help. It was true. Everything was true. He said if you want, our tribe will be your ally. We will not attack your lands. We will not steal your cattle, and if others try to harm you, we will know." Eli felt a shiver run down his spine. What exactly did this mean? How do we know? The warrior almost smiled. "Almost. We always know what happens in these lands. We have eyes on every hill, ears in every valley. If anyone comes against you, we will come too." Eli processed the words. This was more than horses. It was protection. It was an alliance. It was something that no money in the world could buy it. "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," the warrior replied. "Just continue being who you are. It's the only thing we ask for." He turned and walked back to his horse. It assembled with the same fluidity as before. He looked at Eli one last time. "One more thing." "Yes, my grandfather wants to meet you properly. When the full moon comes, light a fire on top of that hill. He will come." And without waiting for a response, the warrior clicked his heels on his horse and rode away. The other riders in the hills began to move as well, disappearing behind the ridges like ghosts at dawn. Within minutes, Eli was alone again, alone with 100 horses he hadn't asked for, with an alliance I didn't expect, with a life that had suddenly changed completely. He stood there, standing in front of his cabin for a long time. The sun rose higher. The horses continued grazing, indifferent to the weight of the moment. Eli pensou em tudo que tinha acontecido, in all the choices that brought him there, in all the paths he could have followed but didn't. If he had ignored the old man on the road like so many others did, what would have happened? Nothing. Life would remain the same. Hard, lonely, but predictable. Instead, he stopped. He got off the wagon. He offered what he had. And now it was here. In the months that followed, Eli's life changed in ways he never could have predicted. The horses were truly extraordinary. Strong, docile, intelligent. He began selling them to farmers in the region, and soon his reputation grew. But more important than the horses was the alliance. Rumors quickly spread throughout the territory. The lone farmer who had the protection of the Indians. Bandits who thought about attacking his property changed their minds when they heard the stories. Men who wanted to steal their horses disappeared into the hills before they got close. Nobody knew exactly what happened to them, and no one wanted to find out. The next full moon, Eli lit the fire as the warrior had instructed. And the old man came. This time he was neither weak nor hungry. He was dressed in his best clothes, adorned with feathers and beads that told stories of a lifetime. They sat together before the fire. The old man spoke for hours, in a mixture of his language and broken English that Eli learned to decipher. He spoke about his tribe, his history, his dreams for the future of his people. And Eli heard, not with the empty curiosity of someone who wants entertainment, but with the respect of someone who understands that they are facing something sacred. When the old man left at dawn, Eli knew that his life would never be the same. Not because of the horses, not because of protection, but because of something much simpler. He had done the right thing, without thinking about reward, without calculating earnings, just because it was the right thing to do, and the universe, in some mysterious way, had noticed. Years later, when Eli was an old man himself, he used to tell this story to anyone who would listen. It always ended the same way. Sometimes, the greatest wealth we can find isn't buried in the ground waiting to be discovered. It's in the small choices we make every day, in the moments where we can move forward or stop, ignore or help, see a stranger or see a human being. That day on the road, I saw a hungry man, and I gave him food, and that changed everything.